and welcome back to the sixth component, where the sixth component is you. I'm Kaitlin.
And I'm Laura.
And we are here today to talk to you about all things school nutrition. We are going to talk today about, the new employee and their super positive, peppy attitude coming in. And then
cheerleader.
Yeah. And then how things can take a drastic turn for the worse. Positive to neutral, neutral to angry. And how do we want to prevent that? So
it's true though. It happens, and I've seen it happen time and time again. We've been hiring supervisors for many years, and so it's at first I was like, oh, okay, like, is this a thing?
Mm-hmm.
And especially after the pandemic, especially after having hiring challenges where other areas in our local region may pay more, it's really hard to not only get an employee, but get a positive employee, and then to keep that positive employee. So we wanted to share and talk a little bit today about how do you not have a neutral employee who then turns to a negative or perceived as negative employee or an angry employee. And so Kaitlin, talk to us a little bit about what does that look like for you in your area, in your school district?
So we, one of my most important things that I feel like needs to happen when we hire a new employee is to make sure that they feel comfortable in their position. They want to feel comfortable and they want to feel appreciated. So you need to make sure that you are setting them up with all of the right resources. They're going to have questions about payroll. They're going to have questions about how do I access my email? What do I get to do when do I get sick days? How do I take time off? So we need to make sure that we're setting them up with the right people for them to be successful in their position.
So resources. So you really, number one, you're really focused on developing those resources. HR, payroll, or tech is a really, really, that's so important. I also think too, their very first day. So secondly, their very first day is really important. I'm pretty intentional about making sure that they have their uniform. I'll meet them at the door or in the office. And then, welcome them, introduce them to the secretary, the principal if they happen to be there. And then I'll walk them to the kitchen along with, saying hi to noon-hour supervisors or any other kind of operations or other staff that I know. And then I'll introduce them to the team and show them around the kitchen. Where do they put their coat? Where's the bathroom? Where do they put their lunch? Like all of the things that seem so simple but are creature comforts, and that it just takes the edge off all of this newness. Sometimes I'll even stay with them for 5 or 10 minutes just to make sure that there is a connection between the relationship of the staff members and that individual, and that they know how to pronounce names and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we all want to make sure that we're getting along with our coworkers, right? So we need to find sometimes just that little piece of connection so that they can get a little bit of a conversation going. No one wants to be in a situation where they're working silently. Sometimes it's only one other employee that you're working with in our kitchen.
That's true.
So
that's true.
No conversation, no music, stuff like that can be very difficult for people, and that positive energy can fade really, really quickly.
Yeah, I love the comment about music. So even as simple as, hey, new employee, what's your favorite type of genre of music? So if you've got someone who loves hip hop and then someone who likes classical, maybe there's a middle ground. So that's a really good point of finding that middle ground where you may know through their interview of the new employee 1 or 2 of their hobbies or things that they really enjoy doing outside of work, so that you might be able to create a connection already to develop and start to bridge that relationship right away, especially if it's 1 or 2 people along with that new employee in the kitchen. So that's great. What else do you do, Kaitlin?
I think it's really important to go in and make sure you're going into the kitchen and saying hi to them when you come do your site visits. They're new. They're still a little bit uncomfortable. They don't know a lot of people yet. They don't know you yet. So going in. Yep. And then that's a good touch base on, do you need anything? Is there anything I can get you while you're here? Do you have any questions for me? I think, Laura, you do a lot of texting and emailing, right?
I do. Texting is probably the number one way where I can connect and actually communicate with someone from the very beginning of their application. People are a little skittish right off the gate. So they apply via the online portal, and then from that, then I'll text them saying, hi, my name is Laura. I'm the school nutrition manager or director, however you say it. And I just saw your application, excited about your interest. Would you have time to set up an interview? So then I have them right away in my phone where I'll say potential, sub or potential hire. And then from there, I'll spend a lot of time being very thoughtful about emojis like, yes, we received your application. I'll see you in an hour for your interview, or thank you for your interview, star, snowflake, smile, no hearts. Funny story, I've actually accidentally sent a heart to someone, and it happened to be a gentleman, and I was like, oops, I'm so sorry. Yeah, but I'm really intentional about that. Being very kind and courteous already from the get-go, all the way through their actual hiring process, yes.
And we've talked in the past about the emotional intelligence too. So I think as a supervisor, as their boss, you need to be able to check in to understand where they're coming from and to check yourself. I read a book one time, and it talked about how the other side of the conversation perceives what you're saying. And I found that so interesting because I never really thought about that before. So now I always, reread my emails. You said using emojis. I think emojis are great. I don't think that words can come across as clear as your intentions are sometimes, especially in a text or an email. People can read things the wrong way. I had a staff member read one of my emails back to me one time, and he was like, "Hey everyone, hope you guys are having a great day." And it made me feel, at first I was kind of embarrassed, but then it made me feel good because I knew that my tone of email was coming across correctly.
Yes, and that really matters. But then I think that he's probably, my guess is, so Kaitlin has a staff member that speaks to her every single day, which is a good thing because they want to reach out, check in, connect. But he's also, if I remember correctly, also shared with you a moment or two of positive feedback, but then also some constructive feedback, specifically to the tone of your email.
Yep, absolutely.
So it goes both ways, and I think that especially with a new employee, whether it's an email or a text message, that connection, that culture, that positivity really, really matters in the way in which you say things. And I do agree with you in the book that you read. It is not only how we say it, it's what we say and when we say it, and it's that perception back to us, right? You wouldn't want to listen to us if we're sitting over here, woe is us. And you want some positivity in your life because we want to uplift you. We want to uplift our staff. We want to uplift that new employee. So last but not least, we also do a kind of a 30, 60, 90-day review.
That's great.
That really is talking more about sanitation and safety, communication, gives us an opportunity as a department to really connect with that individual one-on-one. And it allows us to check in with them in a way that's meaningful for them. My favorite final ask to them in this review timetable is to talk about, what are some of the things that have worked in other employers or other employments that they've had that they would like us to bring back to our team. I know that there was a staff member who used to work at a hospital, and they would actually do off-sites, so like quarterly or biannually off-sites.
Okay.
Where they would take a whole team and then just do some professional development. They would do some annual year planning and those kinds of things with the staff. And I thought that was a really great idea. So without asking those questions and without having the time with that individual, you won't be able to grow and gain potential knowledge that are nuggets within your new team.
I love that. That's a great, because we're not perfect.
And we don't know everything. And there's other organizations, I don't care if it's a fast food restaurant to a hospital system, they all do things a little bit different, and you can always gain and glean a little bit of information from them. But if you don't ask, you won't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that is kind of the wrap up. We talk a little bit about that new employee, but we talked really that positivity, staying in that positive vein versus going neutral to negative. And to recap quickly, I heard welcome them, spend some time with them, say hi a little bit more with that timing, make sure they have their resources, and then finally spend some time 2 months, 3 months later with them individually to check in.
Because even that neutral attitude can be hard on the kids, and that's ultimately why we're here. We want the lunchroom to be a very welcoming, place for all students. We don't want them to feel like they're going into a sad, negative, crabby environment. So it's so important to try to keep our employees happy and keep ourselves happy, because let's face it, we can get that way sometimes too.
Yeah. So it is about refreshing yourself so that you can refresh your staff and ultimately allow for a great experience for kids.
Yep.
So Kaitlin, great job today. Thank you for taking the time to listen about the new employee, how to keep them happy and positive. It is always a joy and a privilege and a pleasure. On those tips and tricks that we gave you, pick one as your challenge. Pick one and start to implement that in your department and see what a difference that can make for you. So good luck. Cheers to you, Kaitlin.
See you next time.
See you next time, everyone. Bye.
Bye.